Okay, before this video gets started, I want to address a couple things. First, this is going to be a deep dive into all things Doctor Strange, from the most powerful character in the game right now. Just a forewarning: if you're someone that's easily triggered by people that spend money and wail out in this game, seeing this puts anything I've ever done to shame. And you're going to see things from gear, cards, you name it, to an extreme that I was even like taken off guard. I was like, wow, this is somebody that has taken min-maxing, dialing this character in, and extreme, every extreme you can imagine. That's just how he plays. There's a lot of games where he's been world firsts and things like that. And he is just somebody that, that's his style. Also, part of his style is that I did not want to censor Yags during this video. He's a friend of mine, and he's somebody that just talks off the cuff. And just for the sake of YouTube, we've bleeped it out, but I did not tell him to refrain from just being himself. Also, there was a part in this video where he gives free-to-play suggestions on gear and such. He amended that, sent me a message later and said he made a mistake, and that he meant, this is what he meant, Fear itself, I believe. God of Magic. Those were the sets he said were the cat's pajamas when it comes to Doctor Strange. So he sent me a message later on. He said, hey, just so you know, I made a mistake in the video. Could you put this in? So, let's get into it. And I just want to also forewarn you, on his side, he was on his cell phone, and he was kind enough to spend all this time going through every nook and cranny of Doctor Strange, is thinking through everything. Yeah, enjoy the video, which is like, there's some parts in this where you're going to go like, wow. There's some things on another level here that I didn't even imagine were possible in terms of someone stockpiling crazy resources. So yeah, let's get into it. So one of the videos I have been getting a lot of requests for is a deep dive into Doctor Strange. And today we're going to do that with the most crazy Doctor Strange, maybe the craziest guy on the server as far as power goes, and one of my good friends, Yags. If you played Marvel Strike Force, you'll know Yags as the first person to beat Dark Dimension 4. He has tons and tons of player-first accolades. He is somebody that just goes hard when he gets into something. He is a whale, min-maxer, try hard, you name it, he goes hard at it. And today we're going to get into everything about his build, because everyone's been asking about this. This build absolutely shreds in every game mode right now. And just to give some context, there was a time a couple seasons ago, Spec Ops, it does not take into consideration your gear or anything else. It is all skill and working together as a team now. Yags and I were having a little duel as #1 in Spec Ops. Finally, the last day, he overcame me, and I was not able to beat him. So the man is actually very skilled, knows how to use this character well. And if you see him come into your zone for any PvP mode, I would be worried. So that all being said, we're going to have Yags. I'm going to give the floor to you, and you're going to talk us through your build, what you were thinking when you made it, your focus, and all that jazz. And yeah, man, thanks for coming on and doing this.
So how's it going, Tony?
I'm doing well, my friend. How about yourself, man?
Oh, I'm doing good. Took a while to, get the grasp of the game. There's a lot of obviously do's and don'ts, trial and errors, but that's the one thing that, at least in my opinion, that makes the game fun. There's definitely lots of room for build of character. I know when they said that in the beginning, I was like, oh, okay, that's going to be interesting. I thought, oh, yeah, it's just costumes, like whatever. And then after, when you got into the technicals, it was actually cool. And then especially working with the Alliance, talking to different people, and then just seeing the different builds for different characters, it gave you a lot of thinking of how can you make your character as balanced as possible to combat, the odds. Sorry, Cindy, the storms, along with Black Widows, Spider-Man's, especially the dodge, Gunner. That was really a pain in the ass, but it was definitely a good learning curve. But the best way, at least I found that worked for me, I ended up settling on the Hydra gear.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed the defensive spec for it for when you had it built for 4P set.
Yeah, I can see your defense is really high.
The one thing that I will show, at least right away, that did make a major difference, and this is one of the mistakes that I did, that it gave me quite some heck against a lot of players. So, as you can see on the screen right now, I have 2 Hydra pants that are both 7 red.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know it's money wasted, but also
lessons learned.
It's kind of exactly, and I'm gonna blame Rem for this one. I did something two ways didn't have to. Sorry, Rem, I'm stealing that from you. But basically, as you can see here, is on the left, you can see the difference in accuracy compared to the one on the right.
Yep.
The biggest issue I had was facing Spider-Mans and to a certain degree Black Widows.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, it would be 50-50, or it barely would get by because everything kept missing because of dodges, and just the accuracy just was not there. The biggest takeaway I took away from Strange was you have to get that accuracy rate up. Otherwise, it don't matter how strong your character is, it doesn't matter how much of a tank you are. Because if you're not hitting, you're not doing any damage. Like, you can have the biggest crit in the world up to 300% or 350, but if you're not landing it, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
So this is part of where my thought process went through is, okay, so the things that I need to identify for Strange, my issues was the accuracy rate, as you can see there. I have 3 there for the accuracy rate, and ever since I changed that, I've noticed a complete difference for his build.
I was gonna say, is there a non-regional you would suggest for players that are unable to chase these regional pieces?
Fear itself
is
actually a pretty good non-regional piece.
Right. Yeah.
And balancing it out.
Okay.
The other factor, or the other issue that I came across that helped huge was obviously dodge.
Yeah.
So with my gloves, obviously, I did quite a few rerolls. It wasn't as bad as some of the other. And I got 3 dodge on there, and that has definitely at least balanced it out. At least in the beginning, when I was working out his cooldown versus his stamina. So the biggest thing when it comes to Strange is, and this is still a work in progress for me, is the better the stamina recovery you can get for Strange, the more the advantage I feel that Strange will have over quite a pretty much all the players aside for Dodge Strange.
Mm-hmm. So you're getting stam locked. You were getting stam locked a lot before you were able to get this online.
Pretty much, because he has a lot of cooldown
in
his spec tree, regardless what skill you're using, whether it's the Mystic Arts or Illusion Magic. It didn't matter which one. But the problem is, it's great, but you'd be standing there a lot of the time. And the other thing that's kind of annoying, but it's obviously with every character, is he'll do a move where he'll just basically just stand there, and you're not doing anything. Now, obviously, that's a flawed mechanic in the game. Not much you can really do about it until they obviously fix the glitch or bug. But we'll see what happens with that. But at least with the dodge right there, it kept you going until at least that corrected itself or you unfroze in that aspect. So as you can see here with my boots, the one thing that I want to fix is, but I'll fix it down the road, is you can see I only have 1 stamina recovery. To me, having at least 2 stamina recovery, you'll see a complete difference in terms of the effectiveness of your Strange. For the boots, cooldown and stamina, if you can get that across the board, either way, whether it's 3 and 2 or 2 and 3, I think you're laughing, because then you get to truly unlock everything that Strange has to offer in multiple modes. And then really for his cloak, it really came down to what it is that you were getting for your strange. Like, what are you getting out of him? Are you more focused on if you're getting a lot of your crit damage with that, that's great. Or if you're able to get it via your cards, that's just the way I broke it down.
Mm-hmm.
When I got my roll, I focused it more on crit damage and defense pierce. I know in the beginning, a lot of people were kind of, defense pierce, what is that? To me, what I've found is with the defense pierce, that at least it truly unlocks breaking through someone's defense to then unlock, your total damage and your max damage as well. So
Mm-hmm.
therefore, you get to unlock everything. But to me, I think defense pierce is a sleeping giant on that aspect. I know only recently it's become more, I guess, spotlighted that of how great defense pierce can really do in terms of unlocking your attack, your crit damage, your total damage when you total it all together
Mm-hmm.
as it mixes around with the numbers and algorithms, and then you'll be seeing yourself hitting to your true potential. At least that's what I find with my strange when I put more focus towards it.
Yeah, I've just been focusing on my defense pierce a little bit more lately as well. I think I'm at 26%, and I am doing some testing with some friends on what the effect is of defense pierce. So we're switching gear out and seeing the effects of it, but it does look like it is potentially just a flat damage. Like you just see it, the percentage come straight up in damage. So it is pretty profound.
Well, and then also with the build that I'm using right now, because of what I've been able to, I guess you could say, get lucky with or get good rolls, good bounces, I haven't had to switch the build slash the suit and stuff I'm using, because with the cards and the way how the badges are situated, I just have to swap out
Mm-hmm.
a few mega cards here, and I can basically run with PvE slash PvP. So basically, where I kept as focused as I could was with the switching of either PvP or PvE. The crit rate and crit damage, I try to keep the same as I could as what I have there, and along with the dodge rate.
Mm-hmm.
With those three, it kind of kept me locked in between of moving around. So as you can see with my PvP damage and PvP damage decrease, don't get me wrong, the PvP damage is a little too high, but that's the one thing I want to retweak around
Mm-hmm.
to try to move stats around. But the one thing, at least it does do, at least if you're focusing on PvP damage decrease is massive. If you can get that as close to 75%, which is your cap, as you can, you will definitely see a major difference and prevention of people kind of just, knocking strange out of the sky.
Yeah, I found
And
once I found PvP damage decrease was one of the things that I noticed, just a dramatic effect. I added 12% at one point until I got to the point I'm at now, and my survivability skyrocketed.
well, and that's the thing, because like sometimes when you see it, it's like, oh, okay. Like what's the identifying factors that's gonna really, shoot you through when it comes to PvP? And like I know there's so many different stats, and it's just like, what do you all focus on? And like the other biggest thing too, what I would say to anybody that's building a strange, when you're looking, so I'll go to my squad level first, Hack. So the biggest thing that I would say is when you're going through what you want to do with him, whether you want to make it just PvP, PvE, like whatever mode it is that you feel that you like, or
Hmm.
it works for you, I would definitely look through the squad power and look through each thing, what percentage increase you get as you move through each 10 levels of squad power,
It-
for your bionics, your armor design, and along with, weapon development. Because as you see each percentages there, especially being a free-to-play player,
mhm.
once you know what you're getting in, the one thing that'll at least prevent you in the future is reducing the rerolls. Because, say for example, say you get to 70% dodge, and as you go through, you're going to get some percentages that's going to get you close to that cap or to that cap. So therefore, that 5%, it's saving you instead of just, oh, okay, I got to get myself max. But if you're patient with it, So that's the biggest thing I took away from this as well too. Is I kept looking at it. Okay, what's the next thing that's coming in for each 10 levels?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, as you can see right now, I am at 211. I guess you could say right now that's probably one of the biggest things I just enjoy doing. I'm like, let's see if I can get to 300 first.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, you got a pretty big lead. I think Cindy is in second. I was first for a while, and then you just trounced me. You just absolutely got a massive lead on that.
well, best thing I'm not a competitive guy. No, not at all. So now, when it comes to at least the skill breakdown, there are definitely several different skills that can be used. Predominantly, when it comes to PvP, I usually, for me, I'm always sticking with 7 rings of Regador. And because of the set bonus with the Hydra gear, and I think along with Xanderth and obviously the Steampunk, I believe it is, you'll get the, well, especially more Steampunk, but you'll get the boost.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely always, for me, that move always give me that single burst of you're gone, because I know I hear a lot of time from the Alliance, like, yeah, just put me down by 75%.
Mm-hmm.
And for that's just key. The other one I go with is Gateway Summoning in terms of the skill breakdown. For me, I put a lot of it as just damage focused. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stuff where you can do with confusion, breaking through, breaking their guard. So that's the thing. Like, with him, you can move it around a lot, but for me, it's more just give me as much power as you can do, and I'll let the rest of the skills balance itself out. Now, whether that's foolish thinking or not, it can be, because people can take their time to put things together to knock Strange down, which is very well possible. And then usually, so if it's PvP based, then I'll see for the Book of Ashanti, I know there is some issues going on with Book of Ashanti. It doesn't seem like he is landing to its full potential as it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
There's been some conversation with Netmarble. I don't think they've fixed anything. I haven't personally sent anything in, but I know I've talked to a few people that are Strange, and it does appear that it is broken in terms of the damage it's supposed to be landing, and in terms of it glitching up a bit. The one thing I've noticed quite a bit, especially when I am using Book of Ashanti, is you will go and you'll hit somebody, and he'll just kind of like freeze when he's doing it. Sometimes it looks like it's going, sometimes it's not, and that's the question of, is it working, or is that strictly just someone just blocking it? Or at least, I mean, they're not dodging it, but when you look at the screen, I'm not seeing anybody dodging it. So to me, even though I'm stubborn, I still keep using it, it feels as if it's still kind of, I'm going to say broken.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether that gets fixed or not in the near time future, time will tell. Then the other one I enjoy using is the Enderith Sword. Once again, you can see I'm mainly more focusing on Mystic Arts. To me, I believe, or I find, that Doctor Strange, his strongest abilities, or at least the one suited best for him, is the Mystic Arts skill class. Now, obviously, with things Rise of the East, it does make illusion magic interesting, but me personally, I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference, at least in my opinion. So the other one that I do see does get used, but I don't really use it as often, is basically your astral projection, where basically for the astral rock is basically where summoning you to go through someone to deal obviously minimal amount of damage, but at the same time it weakens and becomes more invincible. And sometimes, at least for when you're facing bosses, if you switch it to if you switch it through to, I think, the one right now, because I don't really use it often, it does weaken the boss and also increases your attack, which therefore, at least in a PvE environment, you'll be burning down the bosses quicker. Now, the one thing that, I know a lot of people see, especially in Dark Zone, is
Confusion.
oh yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, every now and then I will pop that into Mega War just to see, oh, okay, let's see what's going on. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yay, freak out, right? So, but to me, I don't find that useful, at least to me. That's just more of like, I feel like being mischievous. Yeah, then it's awesome. Completely awesome.
Now, can we get a look at, from the change skill button, your cooldown order? If you, I don't know if you've touched on them all at this point, but I'd like to see the order that you have them in.
Well, see, for me, in terms of the order, I actually don't even follow an order because I don't auto anything.
I love autoing.
Don't get me wrong. Like every time when Cindy's doing something, I'm because she's the auto queen, so
Right. Yeah,
I'm,
yeah,
I'm everything being auto. For me, I can't.
yeah.
Like we're doing a boss, or like say it's Maestro, and it's like whatever. It's like whatever. Like who
Yeah.
cares? But generally, this would be the breakdown I go with. And in terms of when it comes to Spec Ops, generally I would keep everything the same here, except for the mirror dimension. And basically, what I would change that to is basically soul enhance. And basically, so what I would always tell everyone, guys, stay under my balls. And so when everything gets launched, at least they're all getting the defense pierce rate up. So then when you guys are working together as a team, trying to take down Spec Ops, everyone's hitting or trying to hit at their true potential. I know there is a defense down, but for me, I don't usually switch to that. I usually just stick with the defense pierce because I do a lot of damage blast to help bring it down for people. So then they're just going in whatever mode we're doing. At least it makes it easier for them during Spec Ops. So generally, that's the only thing I generally change, at least during Spec Ops for that. You would basically just see the defense pierce want to go there. And basically that would be the layout of what I'd be looking at during that. And then when it comes to a Mega War, the other change, what I would do is I would keep the order the same as I have right now. And then I would swap out Defense Pierce with, Soul Enhance. With Circle of Shackles, basically bringing a group of, combined close together and basically at least bringing down the damage depending on people's level. So those would generally be the the five I would go with during that for Mega War. So those would be the minor tweaks I would do there. And also the one thing that I find as well with this current group of skills I have here is when you are doing your battle challenges, the one thing I do enjoy about this skill in particular is the time when you're facing 3 characters or 4 characters. So like say like it's Captain America, Doctor Strange, and something like Black Widow. I would pop off that skill, group them together, and then basically I am popping off the gateway summoning, and they're gone. So therefore, you're getting the maximized amount of time bonus you can based on your level and based on your damage. And that to me, I've found that very useful for a lot of the stuff for Battle Challenge. So basically, it just eliminates all of them there. It also does help too when you've got some of the more minion battles where you can group them together. So that's the one thing that I would say I really enjoy with Strange is there's different array of skills that can be used during Battle Challenge.
So you don't change a
Sorry.
lot when you're going into PvE modes like Battle Challenge or Blitz or anything like that then?
Usually no, because to me, I try to find something that's
A catch-all.
yeah, pretty much. I try to make them as balanced as possible, and that's where I move around, say like the cards and other stuff to kind of compensate or balance it out. No, so far it hasn't really let me down. Don't get me wrong, a lot of it's because obviously power based, but at the same time, to me, once again, I think this is where the cooldowns come in. So if I break into the spec tree, so the one thing that I find has done numbers for him, and this allows me the flexibility with his character. So right now, the 4 that I use for my specs, and I've gotten lucky with 2 of them where they're both 10 out of 10. Especially that last one was a lot of cursing, but I get it's a game of chance, and you just don't know what's going to happen. To me, a must is his dark magic. You always want to do everything you can to increase, obviously, his attack. So obviously, if you get it to 10 max, it's going to be 25%. But also, once again, you've got the skill cooldown decrease. That's another thing for Strange that he specialize. That's part of his specialization.
Yeah,
So
how do you go
that's
wrong with that one? That just looks like a absolute must. Just a straight flat 25% attack bonus with a 15% cooldown. That's crazy. That's a really obvious one to take too.
Oh no, definitely, and that's where like the stamina recovery kicks in because once again, like even if you have these cards that are added, say if you get the strange card or there's other cards, or even like say one of the bonuses you get or a stat bonus, or sorry, is when it's a specialty skill towards him, when you get one of the four, one of them is cooldown. So if you keep getting those, you can have all the cooldown in the world, but if you don't have the stamina, it's not going to matter. And then the next one I have equipped with him is, because I'm using Mystic Arts, is increasing obviously his skill class damage basically. So by the end of it, when it's done, it's an additional 20%. Basically, that's applying with it. And to me, how do you not?
Yeah. Another pretty obvious one to lean into for sure.
And then there are some other ones that are up for debate, and there is understandably reasons why. So the other one that for me is huge focus because it allows me not have to worry about what you do, but it helps in terms of you don't get rolls or you don't get things going your way is decreased damage received by nearby enemies. And obviously it can go up to by 18%. Another great thing about that is that helps you not have to look at different elements in terms of your defense, in terms of decreases. So like your guard damage decrease, any sorts of resistances. Because as you break it down and you look as to where is everything coming through, a lot of it comes through from white magic, which to me has been huge, and it helps with the tankiness.
Yeah, if someone doesn't load up their PvP damage when you're in a PvP mode with them, they can't even damage you with that on top of your decreases. That's pretty crazy. That's not even taking into consideration you have defense and you have, dodge and all these other elements as well working for you too to keep you on your feet.
Well, and that's to me the one thing when because at first I completely missed it. Because when I was talking to Ron, I'm like, "Hey, Ron, look what I found! It was there the whole time. I never looked at it. And then when I switched it, I noticed, the massive change. And I was like, damn, how did I not see that from the beginning?" And then the other one that I throw in is once again, it's cooldown focused again. Increase max cooldown, by pretty much almost 13.5%. So as you can see, the trend that keeps going on with Strange is that cooldown. Once again, it ties back into what's your stamina going to be at in terms to balance it out. And this is the one thing where I would say what I kept personally doing was I kept going to battle challenges when I would say put a card in or something that had cooldown. The one thing that I enjoy doing it now, I'm not going to break down the mathematical equation for you. I'll give it to you in layman's terms. Mm-hmm. I would throw say like Doctor Strange card. I got lucky not too long ago. I got it, kept tinkering with its level to increase the percentages. And the one thing that I enjoyed doing was going back into the game and say you're facing Thanos or something. You break off one of the skills. Okay, what am I at? Okay, 18 seconds for the cooldown. Then you see go down to 16. So that's the one thing I've really enjoyed with Strange, has been tweaking that back and forth because of his cooldown. And the one thing that's awesome is that it allows you to take some of the more skills that have a bigger cooldown, and it doesn't affect you as bad as long as you're increasing it, because his spec tree does allow you to, in a sense, cheat kind of bit. And then obviously if you're running illusion magic, there is a lot of skills definitely that's designed in here for illusion magic. If you have is it the Rise of the East set? Then Strange can be kind of scary, but to me I still find, or I believe that the Mystic Art class is the best set for him in terms of his skill set.
But for someone that maybe wants to make your build they're free to play / cheap to play, Fear itself is the way to go in your opinion?
That's what I would say, yes.
And then I think the final thing left then is probably just Omega cards, right? Unless you want to talk about, a lot of people ask about potential. I feel like eventually you want to max them all out. So it's a weird conversation sometimes to have, but I know all potential isn't created equally, and it does take people that are free to play much, much longer to max out potential. If you want to gloss over those two things, this is a deep dive, though, I guess. So that's where we. I've had a lot of requests for potential, so that's why I was like, I'm making the point this time. We're going to talk about potential.
To me, what I did was, and the one thing I'll say that I learned from it as I played more, is for the enhanced potential, because I just wanted to get to 100, get all the characters done quickly, and then just kind of just go from there. In the beginning, I'm more just focused on strictly just his attack, because I'm like, you know what, just bust through, whatever, who gives Now, that was just me as a noob just going through it. Now, looking at everything in hindsight, the biggest thing I would say I would take away from that, if you are going to be moving through with it, especially if you're free to play, I'm going to say of his attack and his cooldown decrease.
Okay.
At least in my, because depending on what you want to run with Strange, you can never go wrong with the cooldown decrease. It gives you the vast variety of possibilities to do what you need to do. And the only thing I would say I really wouldn't rush too quick to is his ultimate gauge recovery. Probably about a month now where they did a tweak or they changed Strange's ultimate where he wasn't doing as much damage, and obviously he's glitched where people are still looking at the ground whenever you use it.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest thing. God damn it, Yags! I'm looking at the ground. That's probably the one thing I wouldn't rush to, because I find that it's not doing as much damage as it used to, and I don't find it as effective as it used to be. Now, whether that's because of they've, in a sense, nerfed it a bit to what it was, that's one thing I wouldn't rush, at least with the potential. If you're looking for other stuff, I would focus around it. It's nice, but I don't think it's something you have to dive into right away. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely cheaper in the beginning part for the second slot for Sorcerer Supreme 2.
So you're just saying after the changes, you've deprioritized building alt.
Yeah.
All right. And then
it helps in a Mega War from time to time, but
yeah,
to me, it's more just focused on his skills and being able to utilize them as much as you can, regardless which avenue you go. If you want to be more of the one that's just confusing people, or basically just dealing heavy damage, or just in a sense being a trickster but not being like a Loki type of thing. So to me, it just comes down to, again, of cooldown and stamina, basically. And obviously the attack you can never go wrong with, because you just get through quicker. So.
Right. And then last but not least, Omega cards.
Okay, so with Omega cards, how I broke it down was, okay, so yes, I have had some very, very good luck, especially in the beginning. So I'm gonna break that down. This is just a freakishly good luck in a sense. So yeah, I know you're gonna see all these, specials. It's like, holy shit, do they drop like that all the time? No, they don't. Especially since they changed. Well, I don't see they changed, but especially when it went to global launch, I've noticed that the Omega hard drop rates have changed. Now, mind you, it could have just been at a horseship during that time, but I've noticed, as we all have, noticed the change, at least with the special drops.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what I've always focused, I don't focus on one individual set in terms of getting like a set of 6. Most of mine will be broken up into sets of 2 to at least try to get the bonus for it. So generally, for my PvP build right now, is because I didn't go heavy crit damage build on the build I have, this is where you'll see like the crossbones, but obviously having with the PvP damage increase, so I got lucky obviously with the exclusive stat, that kind of helped with the flexibility, but getting the crit damage along with throwing in cap for the extra, 1.5% attack, to me, that was a no-brainer because I needed more crit damage, and if I can combine 2, depending on what I got with cap, by all means. So then, as you can see here, and then once again, as you can see, a defense pierce again. Obviously, PvP decrease and the PvP increase, but I wanted to at least have a defense pierce on that stat. I got lucky with my drops and my rolls, and that's basically one set there I had put together for part of the PvP set. Then the other one, how do you not, is Captain Marvel. Now, the only thing that's kind of meh is air to surface.
Yep.
But the one thing, and this is more just, I'm going to just random luck, or actually, no, I'll just say random luck, because it doesn't matter if you're free to play a dolphin or a whale, because nobody controls what you get I believe it is the Ultron badges. If you're fortunate enough to get a decent set with it, air to surface damage is not that bad, especially if you're a flyer, because you can get massive amounts in terms of with the boost to air to surface damage. So to me, if you enjoy flying, don't get me wrong, that's not a skill like, oh my god, but
Mm-hmm.
there are, it's to it because there are some badges that are out there that will help complement it. But the biggest thing for me that I took away with this here is because I knew I was running Strange, I wanted to at least get the set bonus once again. So therefore I get the defense percent of 1.5, but also I get the PvP increase, which is huge. And I got lucky with a roll again with PvP increase and then dodge rate. So when I saw the dodge drop on that, I'm like, yeah, I don't care for the air surface damage right now. Maybe later on and as the content goes through.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, when I saw it was 3, I'm like, how do I not?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then basically paired her with Strange. Now, this one, for Strange here, I did several rerolls to get what I wanted. But once again, you can see it was an exclusive stat. Once again, it's a cooldown decrease. So the biggest thing I'm going to keep stressing is make sure you have proper stamina recovery to compensate for the cooldown decrease.
Yeah.
Now,
I had to do the same thing. Yeah.
Well, to me, for the exclusive stat, PvP or cooldown obviously are your best ones you can get on the drop. But once you can see, as you can see the trend, I'm constantly going, you constantly see which Strange is cooldown, cooldown, cooldown. Now, obviously, once again with him, I got lucky with the dodge rate. And then with the max damage rate, to me, this was a no-brainer to put the two of them together. If you get very lucky with Storm, and if you get her, definitely put her in. I got lucky with obviously.
Oh my god, are you kidding me? Wow. That's the golden goose. Yowza.
Well, and especially the biggest thing with Storm is with her fixed effect.
Mm-hmm.
With that decrease. Don't get me wrong, PvP damage increase is great, but just getting that decrease for PvP is just, to me, it's like taking a nice It's like, it's.
You have 24, 34, 39% decrease on that single card. Yowza.
Well, and this is where, like, if you get lucky with certain cards, regardless what your play is, because you could end up getting, if you get her and you get a good exclusive stat, I would constantly keep re-rolling her to what you want, because the one thing at least this card will do, along with a few of the others that are shown, it at least allows you leeway and wiggle room to move other stuff around that you may not like, with whether it be your badges, your cores, whatever it may be, because it frees it. So the biggest thing I always kept taking away from it when I was looking at my cards, because the other ones I got to throw it in there and said, you know what, I can boost the attack up to 26, almost 26 and a half for attack, but it's like, that's great. If you don't have the other stats to complement it, who gives a how you are for attack? And so the one thing that I've really enjoyed with her card is that it's allowed me to, move around, dodge, defense, pierce, max damage rate, because they all play its factor once you deep dive and go through someone's defense, and then whatever you have in your attack and everything meshes together. Because it's kind of like, okay, so if you break the defense, the pierce will help go through with it, and then when you add the attack, then when you add your max damage rate and all that, then obviously that's where the fun starts. And that's where all the tinkering comes into putting everything together. So all this for a reason, some are more higher priority, obviously. So that's basically, and then obviously again, because I'm lacking on crit damage, that's where obviously, don't get me wrong, the exclusive stat I don't care for.
Yeah.
It's you know what, I'll use it, but yeah. But obviously the bonus stats is what made me keep her on that slot.
So when you were early on, were you chasing this perfect set in the beginning, or is there a set that you could recommend for free to play / cheap players as well? The Dolphins, in the FT free to play?
Set number 11.
In card sets, that's Dark Zone 4?
Yes. Let me see here.
Yep. Dark Zone 4. That does seem to be the one that everyone chases if they are unable to get all specials.
So no, when it comes down to obviously not getting all your specials, when it comes to PvE, this is where the shifting of the mind kicks in. And I don't have many specials that I'm using for PvE. just based on what the cards bring. But
Mhm.
generally, when I'm looking, I'm not. To me, I'll throw in Edge of Infinity, basically because I'm looking for the villain damage. Now, to me, when I got the cooldown decrease, is it needed? Yes and no. And it's again, it's all coming down to again, what group are you running with, especially say Dark Zone. If you're running in a group where, depending how quick you kill the bosses, that's where cooldown can be huge or not.
Mhm.
So if you find that in a group that you're killing bosses, say a Frost Blister, for example, so you're killing it in a minute and a half, as an example, cooldown decrease would be huge. So I would definitely go with it. If you find that, say, you're killing as a group the Frost Blister in 25 seconds, is it really needed? I'd say probably not, because as you're going to the next boss, you really don't need it, at least for Dark Zone wise.
Yeah, you probably want something more front loaded where you unleash a bunch of damage up front and worry less about cooldowns for that.
Oh no, definitely for sure. But now the other element too, where I've also tinkered with, whether it's been a rare or it has been a special, is sometimes if you get the exclusive stat of a PvP base, but it's also villain, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Because especially say if you get PvP decrease. Because as we know, it is still PvP slash PvE. It's not just strictly
Mhm.
in their bosses. Don't get me wrong. For a long time, it's been adopted as that, and everyone has their free will and what they want to do, whether they want to go and kill people for the sake of killing people, or sometimes people just get in someone's blast by accident and it's like, sorry. So
Right.
having that, I know I've been guilty of that where, I'll be doing damage and I'll run balance, but sometimes even if you're doing a basic, someone walks in.
Mhm.
But having a PvP skill is never always a bad thing. It's more just depending on with your group you're running. What are you guys normally killing the bosses? Is what's the goal? And if
Mhm.
you're just tapping going in and out, then it really doesn't matter. To me, it's more like what are you looking for? So for me, obviously for the villain damage, that's why I equipped him for it.
All right, we had a couple little technical difficulties. We're obviously Yags was kind enough to do this impromptu video, so we are on he's on a cell phone, and it's probably asking a lot of it to run Discord, voice share his screen, and run the game. So we had a brief little cutout, and we are back to him explaining PVE Omega cards. So yes, take it away, Yags.
Yeah, so once again, as you can see, Crossbones is there again. To me, I felt I needed something for crit damage, because if I'm going to break through a lot of these bosses, obviously the villain damage, super villain damage, depending which one you're facing, a higher crit damage definitely will never hurt you. So therefore, I threw in Crossbones for that, and then to try to complete the set, well, not so much complete the set. Um, then I would throw in another set with Captain America, which is basically your villain damage again. Now, I got lucky with the bonus stat here for super villain damage, so it had multiple purposes. But then, as you can see here with the exclusive stat, PvP damage increase.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps give you that flexibility of, if someone's trying to piss you off in Dark Zone, which I know has been happening quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
it at least gives you a bit more of a fighting chance because you're not just predominantly focused on just PvE. Like, don't get me wrong, you're getting what you need, but the exclusive stat, obviously, you're not really going to get anything to help you there. So therefore, getting some PvP you can never go wrong with. And so obviously, once again, now throwing with, Captain America along with Crossbones, I'm getting obviously the stat bonus of 1.5% boost for attack. Sure, why not? I cannot go wrong with that. And then now this is more where I'm leaning towards some of the special cards I throw in. Obviously, with the Iron Mans there, I have 3 of them, and I'm more leaned in towards I need something again for villain. Now, don't get me wrong, there's other rare cards you can do to kind of put it together, because to me, it was just predominantly focused was villain damage. But I got lucky with my bonus stats, and I got a super villain damage as well. So therefore, that would be another one I would equip with it. Then the other card I would usually throw in, and mind you, this is more just because I got lucky with the bonus stats once again, super villain damage and super villain damage decrease. obviously getting the attack percentage to me is never a bad thing. And once again, there's a PvP damage increase. It always gives you that extra, so you can't go wrong in terms of if you're dealing with a very competitive zone, for
Yeah.
lack of better words.
Right. Yep.
And then, as you can see, some of the stuff that I'm kind of tinkering with, I haven't fully. I have my 7th slot, which is usually Black Widow, but I am kind of tinkering, as you can see here, Defense Pierce. I'm kind of tinkering with the thought of possibly putting it in, and I want to see the effects of
Mm-hmm.
how much more effective it's going to be against the boss. So obviously, facing PvE, PvP for Defense Pierce, I'm curious myself to see how much more of a difference will we see in terms of breaking through.
So is that the number 5 set from Captain?
I believe it would be number 5 set, yeah. And then also you can see there, I'm also tinkering on with the villain damage as well. So like for the last slot there, I'm moving stuff around. I have leaned more towards more of the rare stuff for PvP as our PvE. And then generally this would be the last card I would throw in for the most part just because of the crit damage. And so now basically with that being said and done, usually on average what I'll run with, unless I change it up every now and then, is so obviously you want to keep your dodge rate up to a certain degree. That's why I don't usually change the build if you're just running with one costume design in mind. Because if you had good rolls on it, keep it. Don't go with 2 sets because you can still be just as effective as long as you get the right cards or the lucky bounces go your way. That's more where this comes down to the balance of I do have a Savage Saddle Lens, but I don't use it.
Mm-hmm.
And would logic tell you I should be because it puts me at a max 75% for super villain damage? Yeah, I should be. But to me, I've found more success with this current build I have right now, along with the card tinkering. So the biggest thing is, and the biggest takeaway I take from this is, villain damage in my mind in a PvE, is my highest focus within reason. Just with it being at 47.3, there is a lot of bosses that are not primes that I will usually get a last hit on just because of how high the villain damage is. Don't get me wrong, all the other stats, the crit damage, crit rate, they all definitely play a factor.
Mm-hmm.
But I found ever since I have increased my villain damage, to me that has been huge. And I started looking, okay, villain damage, I'm pretty good at 55.8. What was more important, it being at 75, sure, it is a prime. You obviously get more for it. But at the end of the day, which ones are you going to see more of? Your primes or just, your regular bosses? So that's where I shifted more of my focus to villain damage compared to super villain damage.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And yeah, that's basically the breakdown I went with. I'm always tinkering my lineup. There's always stuff I'm missing or I'm going to be screwing up on.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
Yeah, you're like me, never satisfied.
and that's the thing. To me, I enjoy the criticism because it's like I'm not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game where you try to make the best version of a character you can, and there's always going to be something where this skill was useless and all of a sudden it's useful, or we misinterpreted or misunderstood what it meant or what it truly does. And to me, the only thing I would say is I wouldn't disregard every skill in the game because they're there for a reason. It's just whether it's early content or towards the end, you don't know.
Yeah, with the new game mode coming up, we don't know what that's going to be.
Well, and that's why the only takeaway I could take of this is just really look at that spec tree and decide what it is that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And because Strange's thing is basically cooldown, work around that.
Mm-hmm.
If you've gotten cooldowns to the point where you're happy with, you can go put in some of the bigger ones that have a higher, cooldown rate, but then you can still do a ton of damage, but not waiting as long for it to come back up or pop back up. And then just allowing you just to interchange it. Like the one thing I like with Strange and the challenge I enjoy with is Spec Ops.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the big thing I enjoy. Aside from Hydra Escape, that's probably the one I can't stand the most. but
Right. Yep.
But the one thing that I truly enjoy with it, especially if you're playing with a group and you're on Discord and everybody's talking, to me, I will give Netmarble credit because it's brilliantly done in that aspect if you play that way, because it makes it more enjoyable. Especially the fact that we always make the joke that how, you know, Rocket's always. I wasn't trying to find him. He ran into my crotch.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, to me, Strange is. He is a trick of all trades, in my opinion. Because if you can get, you know, decent rolls, or if you can get multiple skills on, say, one card that can help you for different skill modes, to me, I think it's just absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You can basically run one set and just make sure you tinker stuff around to where you don't have to work, and like you're not a walker. And sorry for ones that walk. I feel so bad for them because it's like I'm coming, but I'll give them all the credit in the world. I would hate running. Like for me, flying has just been huge. The only thing that can be kind of annoying with Strange is, and I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm playing on a phone, or if it's just, I don't know if other people have experienced as well, is you will try to hit the boost for Strange, and it's like he's just all of a sudden in slow-mo. And that happens quite a bit, but I'm going to say that's probably more just because of the server or the lag time that's going on. That would probably be the only thing I'd say that's frustrating with Strange. I find that quite often for me that I'll be flying somewhere, I'm like, okay, I'm going, and just like, slow down. It's like, what the
All right. Well, this has been awesome, man. I think a lot of people are going to be very curious about this build and all of the resources, time, energy, min-maxing, money spent, and the testing you've done. And it's kind of a big deal that you've shared this with us today. So I'm thank you a ton too, man.
Well, just the other thing, just to throw your way, because I know the biggest thing I hear from people right away, especially when they've looked at my profile, you'll see a bunch of different badges.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm not focused on just a single set of badges to get that bonus. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be nice. The biggest focus I keep looking at is use your badges and your cores to what it is you're lacking or not having from it. I know some people get focused on, you know, if I get the full set, you know, I get this certain percentage boost. Like, yeah, you do. I mean, or you get a certain set bonus, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but especially being a free to play or a dolphin, having a mixed set of badges is never really a bad thing until you get what it is that you're looking for. So if you ever mix it up, always mix it up, because you're always going to be missing something, and there's going to be a different badge that's going to have something you need.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Well, this has been a wildly insightful video. It was pretty cool to to be able to get to see what it's like behind the driver's seat of this crazy, crazy Doctor Strange. And love your face, man. We've been playing together for quite a while now, and we became buddies. And I'm honored that you could take the time out to share this with me and everyone else.
If it helps everybody else, and if it makes everyone's gameplay more enjoyable, you know, by all means, you know, I know sometimes people come across as, you know, some of the higher players are bullies or this, that. It's like, we're all playing a game to have fun. And if there's anything that can be shared to help out, or to even help save people if they do spend some money, to help save them from not wasting money on certain things, like, ah, crap, I already spent it. By all means, you know, any company that you're playing a game, or even just the system in general, they take enough from us as it is. And if
Yeah.
it helps people out, most of us are all for it. So.
Right. All right, man. Well, we're going to wrap it up, and we're going to get this up to share with the world. And I appreciate everything that you've done today with this video. And I will see you in game tonight, probably in some Omega Wars.
Definitely, for sure, buddy.
All right, man.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Yep. Bye.